Good work.
And for question on you, please, call the meeting to order at 10:03. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord God, we come to you to pray for the NCCLA board members. Guide us to make good, honest, and just decisions for the seniors in our community. We pray for our executive director and all staff. Guide them in their daily efforts. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Lynch, McKinnon,
Here.
Stepanowski,
Here.
Potter,
Here.
Schlicker.
Here.
Bachhorst. Here. Brumman.
Here.
Turek here.
Okay. Well, we have the agenda in front of us. If there's no problem with the agenda, except motion to approve the agenda after the.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Sorry. Approve or motion made by McKinnon, approved by Lynch to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Carried. Minutes we also have in front of you from our last meeting, from the February meeting on February 27th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by McKinnon, seconded by Flicker to approve the minutes of the February 27th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment, limit 2 minutes. State your name and your township, please, if there is any. Okay.
Judy French, Harrisville. Really, the only thing that's coming to mind right now is your logo. I love the new logo. It's been how many number of months now? However, I keep seeing the old logo out and about, driving around. Just wondering if there's a reason why the old hasn't been ripped off, some like the vehicles and such, and the new put out. We want the new logo out there for everyone to see, so that's really the only thing.
Okay, thank you. Presentations will move to Andy Shaw, developer and construction manager at the site of the building.
Thank you, Bill. So I'm gonna start off with the residential, senior housing. So at this time, we have all of our rough inspections for electric, plumbing, and HVAC. And so, for instance, on plumbing, that would mean all of our drain pipes are in the walls and in the crawl. All of our pipes are in the walls, actual water supply lines, and the general fixture for the showers and what have you are in place. For the electrical, that means the panels in place, all the wires running to it, through the walls, down in the ground. We've got the meter socket outside, and that's kind of the rough electric threshold. On the building itself, we've got inspected for all of our rough buildings, so Harry's been out and checked all the lumber and what have you. That's called a three-way, but then allows us to insulate. So while the insulation was delivered to each building, it's been installed in all but one at this time. So we've passed all of our insulation inspections for all but house number one. Some house number one became the last one we're finishing. And then, so that's the inside. Then we've got drywall finished in 2, 3, 4, and 5. Drywall is delivered in 6 and 7. Getting our insulation inspection in 8 today, and they'll have to deliver that drywall. A couple of our people took vacation. The electrician, the plumber, I think, are both out of town. So we've got a little bit to finish up on one before we can get those inspections on one. That'll be next week. And then, yesterday, well, just today, Phil signed the easement for Consumer Energy for the electric. And then today, we're getting an outside inspection on all the electrical for the, meter, connections. And once I have a sticker on all those, I can send the easement and a picture of those stickers to Consumer Energy. And we'll get our electric back there, which is wonderful. And so while we have hung the drywall, we really can't finish the drywall without the heat, so that'll kind of flow, hopefully very quickly. And then once the electric is in, the gas will do their final double check. They like to actually see the electric in. Then we'll get our gas, and then, that's kind of the residential. And then on the outside, we have, one house that's finished from a siding standpoint, one which is 80%. And then we've got the rest of that outside. It takes us a while. We're doing this really beautiful LP, and we follow all the details that are required. And it takes about 2 weeks per house to really carefully go around each one. So but they're watertight right now. So it's just a matter of getting the aesthetic finished. And so yeah, the residential is coming right along. I'm kind of throttling it. Some days that we're getting really busy on the site, and I'm just I might pull back a couple of the trades to not have it overloaded. But I can just softly finish the houses and come in way ahead of time, so I'm just working on that. Then on the site, we're doing just a little bit of finish. We finished our west parking area yesterday, so we got final grade, final compaction, final thickness on all of the 21 AA. And the reason that's important is when our steel shows up, it's just so much that the steel guy figured he needed both our parking lots to shake out all of his materials. And so I've been sending him videos. He's quite happy that, have a big area. It's a challenge when you're on a tight site with a lot of steel. You're always moving it around, and it can get damaged and what have you. So when the steel arrives, it'll probably shake it out over both parking areas. Then we're finishing a little bit of piping right now. We weren't exactly sure where we were gonna discharge the storm off the roof of the building. And I needed to put that right into a big pipe. And so we've got that figured out, and we're putting that last little section of pipe in right now. And then the last bit of gravel we have to do is our service road. So that'll be happening this week. And then, you go to the building, and we started excavating for footings about a month ago, shortly after the last meeting. And we encountered a residue of the big hole that we had last fall. There was just a little vein that we didn't capture last time. And so as we're putting the footers, there's a big tree underneath the footing. So we had to do some excavation. That cost us a day or two. Got that all cleaned up with SME. And then we had another section just from the time of year. It was a clay-ish area, and it was just too soft. So we had to excavate out that. But we had SME on site, got everything rock solid. And then once we got to grade, we brought up 12 inches of 21 AA, which is a kind of rough, big stone. And then that's underneath the footing in that area only. And we had to get that inspected. We had to first get our subgrade inspected from both compaction and bearing, which we passed everything. Then we put our stone down, and then we had to get that inspected from both compaction and bearing, and got that approved. And then that allowed us to start setting our forms, which we started about a week or so ago. And now we've got all of our forms in place for the courts area, 120 by 180, pickleball and basketball and what have you, the big pre-engineered metal building area. And then we got our re-steel in, and we started tying that yesterday. And so I was at Harry's office twice this morning, where he says the permit's ready, and I have to go back now the third time at some point today and pick it up. So we'll have our building permit for the shell, and that includes the footings, the steel, the roof, the walls, the windows, everything to make the building watertight. And then we'll follow that up with the interior drawings. So that'll be more the detail, the HVAC, the plumbing, what have you, and that's coming. So that's where the footings stand. Right now, we're scheduled to pour our footings, the first pour on Friday at some time, and use a pumper truck. And then we'll pour our lower 26 inches, then we'll come back, form our piers that are 16 inches tall, pour those, actually have the anchor bolts in those, and then be ready for when our steel arrives. Somewhere they just say the the week of April 12th, that's a Friday, so it could show up as early as that Monday, which would be, so April 8th, right in there, April. So I'm just kind of being ready for that delivery, and, it'll take them a little bit of time to shake out and get everything laid out, so it'll be hopefully just right, but we'll finish up our footings and our anchor bolts as that steel arrives. And then, on the big building, the big news, one of the big items this month was we bought our steel for the rest of the building. That's about $840,000. And that was a big one, that we put a lot of work into making adjustments so that that steel was affordable. If the most we could pay was $1 million, we had to just work the actual design and then keep bidding. We brought that in. So that's a big contract for a lot of reasons. It's, it's a lot of money. Like, it's such a crazy world. I've been doing this so long and I've never seen such a range in prices. And to give an example, so yesterday we bought through L&L Contracting, a really good metal stud drywall ceiling contractor, $220,000. And that gets us all the walls around the perimeter building, a product called Dense Glass, which is that yellow material. If you've ever seen it, it's like almost like fiberglass, weatherproof. And then we put this rain shield. It's this, it's called Kingsguard, but it's an insulation, a foam insulation that has tape and is actually watertight, right? So once that's on there, you have a watertight wall. Well, we had bids up to $550,000. And it happened, the highest bid was the first bid. And I had budgeted $219, right? And so I'm like, we have those moments where you rattle, and then we got the other bids, and then I worked it yesterday, 220 grand. But that's a crazy world, right? When you're playing with 100% fluctuations, and even on the steel, we had numbers like that. We had numbers pushing 1.8, 1.6, and then we made our deal. And it's definitely a new world of bidding, I can tell you that for sure. So but for what happens, and it's just the same thing over and over again. I make 20, 25 calls to HVAC, electric, and then we go through this funneling process where they're either crazy price, they can't meet the time, then you just whittle down, and then we get down to, like on roofing, we got a roofing number in yesterday. I'm gonna buy it today. I got 2 more prices coming in, but it's gonna be real close to this. We got a price, $307,000 for all of our flat roofs. So that's R43, and code is R30 for insulation on a ceiling in commercial building. But you can find these charts that are sweet spots of, you can go all the way to R100. So that's crazy land. It doesn't really pay. R30 is not a good decision if you own the building, right? You're just gonna spend way too much money on heat. And it happens this R43 is kind of this sweet spot of capital investment against long-term operational savings. So anyhow, we've got R43, we've got this thicker roof, kind of the thickest commercial version. But again, it's where you want to spend your money. You want to not have roof problems for a long time. And so it's 60 mil versus a lot. I mean, you've got places out there doing 30 mil, 45, 50. The 60 mil is kind of the Cadillac component of our building, but it's definitely where we want to spend it. Anyhow, $307,000 and crazy bids, against that. Like I'm hoping I might beat it by a little bit today. We got 2 more coming in, but 307, great number. And so if you look at the overall package of what we have bid and what we don't have 100% numbers on, we're really down to HVAC. We're like in the 90% neighborhood. We've got a bunch of people we don't have final HVAC. We got like 95% done drawings. There's just a little bit of tweaking to go. And, but real soon we'll hone in on that HVAC number, which is another big one, $500,000. And then the plumbing, we're getting close. That's not as big of a number. It's just, it's probably in the 150 neighborhood. Then we've got our electrical. And then lastly, our interior walls, drywall and ceilings. So we're really kind of closing down, and that allows me to start making final decisions. We're kind of thinking on May 1 and what I'd call the optional things, right? How much are we going to finally put to the game room? How much are we going to put to the fitness equipment? are we gonna, where exactly are we gonna come in on some of our floors on the, we know we're gonna stick to the level 5 on the actual gym floor, but within the pickleball and the fitness area, we still got some wiggle room, a couple bucks a square foot, keeping you still on a good floor, but saving a couple bucks. So that'll all kind of homogenize, towards the middle of May, we should have this whole thing hammered really all the way to the end, and that'll be a great milestone. And so that's where that is. And then building wise, there's just a little on the outside, we turned our permits set in, and that was, I think, like 50 pages, right? So we had all of our new core stuff, all of our structural engineering drawings, all of our architectural drawings, and that collected package was our permit set that was turned in both to the Alcona and to Don Gilman. And then I was supposed to pick up that permit this morning at, like I said, at 8:30, then 9:30, and now I gotta go back. But they promised me it's ready and I just gotta get it. So that's a big one for us too. We'll have that thing situated. So that's kind of the nutshell. We just got some interior stuff. We haven't got to finishes, carpets and that. It's still coming around. But right now, it's a little broken record, just footings and steel, that's where we are. And then if anyone doesn't know, Phil's working with on site. It's so great to have the old stallion showing the young bucks how to get it done. So, but he's doing great, and I love having him out there. And so, yeah, and it's funny, if you were to look at what we've done, it's great. I can just tell you, it's like our forms are perfect, our sub base is perfect. We've got every box, every pier squared up perfectly, our reroutes tied perfect. And so I'm gonna get inspection by SME Thursday and try to get Don Gilman and Harry out Thursday. So if there is any problem, anything's identified, we'll have time to deal with it before we get the trucks on the road on Friday. So that's, and we were waiting, we had a machine broke down in Saginaw on our rerod ties, these particular ties, and then they just got finished and we sent a guy down to pick them up. They couldn't get them up here in time. So, but when I get back, or by noon, we'll have these particular ties we need to finish what we're doing. And we already have our actual rods, all of our anchor bolts are actually in the trailer. So that's that. But yeah, coming right along. And then we're nibbling, last meeting, I think we're 868,000, and we're nibbling into that. We're probably at 800,000 right now. But a lot of that is like throttling, as far as we made a decision. We could have cheapened the roof and dropped probably, I think it was 37,400 in insulation and about 8,000 by dropping down 10 mils. But last night, talking to Jonathan, we're sitting good enough right now that there was no good reason to do that. So we kept our higher insulation, our thicker mills, and those are the kind of things what I call throttling, where we can go to a $10 this, or we can stick with an $8 that. And so as these other numbers start to come in, I just wiggle and jiggle to keep everything balanced. That's about it.
Being we are a nonprofit, could the county waive all of our permits
They're not.
or some of them?
Carolyn checked into that, and I can tell you on the residential, they basically they charged us for pretty much one house, right? Very, very low. I mean, just if you were to take me doing it personally versus what they charge, I'm thinking at least an 80% discount without us really asking. So today, and like Don Gilman was the big, so Don's normal fee for this, I think would have been $50,000, and he's charging, I think, like $4,000, right? So Don was a huge one, and it was funny because he just got his check last night, and he wouldn't formally respond. I talked to Don every single day, but he wouldn't formally respond until last night. I literally was talking to him at 9:45 at night. He finally just got his check to get paid. And so anyhow, he's the big one, quite honestly. And then locally, I'm sure they're just gonna charge us, because it's a hard one to figure on how many visits you're gonna have. Like on a house, 800 square foot house, Harry knows that he's just gonna come one time for the rough, one time for the insulation. He knows each house will be 3 particular visits, right? But on this building, it's just hard to know. It's hard to know how the weather, on any given day, we might have a poor plan, but we got rain coming, so we're gonna cut it in 3 pieces, you know, so now Harry's gotta come out 3 times for one thing. You know, so we're gonna handle it a little bit, on almost like a, will call basis. You know, so if I have him out 10 times in a particular month, he'll charge us X dollars a time kind of thing. And I think I can tell you, I wouldn't waive anything, but we're just they're giving us such a great deal. It's like, we should just send them a thank you card, you know, and call it good. Plus, you wanna keep peace, your inspectors that is like development 101. Never go to war with your inspectors ever, you know, like, you wanna keep them happy dappy all the time, you know, and so. Carrie needs a little money coming in over there, so let's write a little check and keep it all good.
Do you have to have electrical inspector, plumbing inspector,
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah, those are all, in the commercial world. They have a lot of liability, right? So if let's just say, it's like an outrageous example, that something was completely wrong and the inspector came out and said it was okay. He's got personal liability for that, right? So, you know, so they're gonna really do their job. They're gonna go out. It's not like residential, hey, how's it going? Looks good. It's gonna be checking all these little things. And already, we've got McMillan. So McMillan is our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineer. So they start off with liability. So Jay Fox is the principal in charge of electrical, okay? So he's the one that lays out our bonding, all of our grounding type stuff. And that falls on him, right? So like, if the drawing said, put a number 4 copper from this bus to that bus, that was a bad idea. It should have been something else. That's only him, okay? That's his mistake. If the inspector sees it, that's not his job. He doesn't know if it should be number 4 or 5. That's, you know, if it was a number, you know, it was something obviously too light to be one thing, but the inspector is just gonna say, drawings call for a number 4 copper from this bus to that bus. It's there, you know, and then our job is just to make sure we do it exactly as the drawings say. That's the one thing. I have no flexibility, 0. If the drawings say X, I'm legally, if I don't put X there, it's my problem. And so there's no, let's do it this way. That's just not how commercial works. It's like, and then we have, it's called RFIs, request for information. So I keep track of them, we keep them numbered, and if there's ever, something we're just not sure of, we just don't understand it, for instance, then we send a request for information, lay out the subject, lay out the question, and then get a formal answer. And then those become, in a way, part of the legal trail of the documents, you know. So I would say sheet A-4, detail number 2, I've got a question on X to Y, you know, please give me an answer.
Who's responsible for keeping those records for auditing in the future?
Me, but then everybody does, right? So as a general rule, the architect guaranteed keeps his records, the structural engineer keeps it, everybody keeps their own, you know, but then we send them through. It's so many things now are just auto, like take a SME, for instance, it does all of our testing. Every time they're out here, it goes to like 15 people. And so it's called Procore. And so that's kind of, when it comes to inspections, like with SME or a steel guy, all those are really maintained in basically a cloud format, you know, what they go out to everybody. So I keep all my records, they're all, you know, Phil knows I got it early on, I got a file cabinet from Dr. Turek, and we're already on to file cabinet 2, and that's getting full, so but Phil, I kind of showed Phil all the files in there. He knows it's all set up and what you would expect, you know.
When the project is done and you have got 2 filing cabinets full of paper, who is gonna condense that down and put it into a record that is then gonna be stored?
I work with a really good company that, for a pretty reasonable number, you gotta clean your files up, right? You gotta make them nice. I do one final go through, and then you ship them all to them and they digitize it. They'll send to us, so we'll have it, make sure it gets onto the server here. They'll pay to have it on their server, like basically forever. And it's a really nice service. And then we'll digitize all the drawings as well.
So this is part of the project that you're.
Yeah. Part of as I'm closing down a project, I'm really fussy about as-builts because I've been the guy that had the benefit of great as-builts or suffered from no as-bills, you know? And so one of my things, I try to always as-built my drawings perfectly, digitize them. And then, you know, I happened to be in the printer's office when somebody was, considering they're working on a potential pool or something at the Aplex. And they had never they'd never dealt with these drawings, and so they were working on it, trying to, you know, put together a comprehensive package and get it all digitized out. And yeah, before I'm at the end of the job, I do a lot of things, you know, but that's part of my end of job process.
You gonna leave us a good paper copy or we gonna?
Yeah.
Digital?
Yeah, we'll keep the paper. We've got a big file room anyhow. And we'll just, you know, we can really just put it anywhere. It'll end up probably being like a 4-drawer. We'll just get a nice lockable file cabinet and then I'll have you always want to keep your full-size prints and then, all the paper copies, yeah.
And this will include like the contracts and stuff? in case
Yeah,
we
all the
have to go there.
contracts and warranties. I actually make a separate warranty book. That's part of the thing. And so, usually it just kind of varies. The plumbing it'll be a 3-ring binder of just plumbing. You know, so if you have a broken valve, you go with warranties, and part of our final payment is always getting the warranty, and part of even the bidding right now that I'm negotiating, like on the roof, we're negotiating the terms of the warranty. And there's just a lot of little things, you know, it's always about, like, the first version I got in a couple of these warranties, like, yeah, it can be warranty, doesn't cover nothing, you know, as an exaggeration, right? Then you gotta work it to make sure that, you know, and they'll negotiate, all these warranties are negotiable, but we're always striving to get as best we can. But a lot of them is making a good move, like, we're spending money on the shower valves, we're putting in Zern, which is basically the best, but there's a few spots where we're doing that, you know, like, if you put in a garbage valve, you can't be surprised when it doesn't work from a year from now, you know? But we're putting in a good valve in that spot and expecting it to last for 30 years. Yes.
Any other? Good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the work. Yeah. Back to the job site.
Thank you very much. Okay, we don't have, NEMSCO representative tonight. Carolyn, you're next on the list, if you'd like to.
Thank you, sir. I have
Commissioners report.
distributed a couple different things this morning. One is the notice on the fair and stick it someplace where you hopefully won't lose it. And one of the other things is the Maple Syrup celebration. That's April 6th, Saturday, April 6th. Also, I have here, I don't have all that many, but I can manage to get more. Thank you. It's a map on the motor vehicle use map for the Huron-Manistee National Forest, Mayo area, and on the front, and Huron Shores on the back. Please take one, and I'm gonna ask Wendy to let me know if you end up, you know, if these all disappear and you would like more, I can see to it that we get more. So that's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next on the list is Executive Director's Report. Wendy?
I don't really have a lot besides, we have a full staff right now. So that's a good thing. And a very good one at that. Our congregate meals are continuing to grow. We're getting about 20 to 25 people a night, on a really good night. And our crafts and bingo are phenomenal. We're having a lot of participation. This week, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Dolores, the quilters group is starting.
Thursday.
So another group activity. And in mid-July last year, when I first started, we had an audit with NEMSCO that wasn't the greatest. We were pretty not compliant with a lot of things, especially the in-home service area. And I just wanna say I'm very proud of all of my in-home service people. We have completed reassessing every client for that hasn't been assessed for years properly. So I'm very happy to announce that. And myself and Christie, have completed our emergency action plan. It was complete, we've updated it, which I'm not sure, I think the last time it was updated was like 4 years ago. So that's been updated. I have no new news on the SBA loan, so I'm still waiting to hear if anything's going on with that when we could get into the portal. And on April 23rd, Kelly Robinette from NEMSCA is gonna be here to complete their congregate assessment. And then at that date, she'll choose a date to come back and do the home delivery meal where she goes out and rides with the driver for the day. And then for April, we have a pretty packed calendar of activities. I think we have 3 bingo weeks. We're having an eclipse party on the 8th. And Shay has a special menu plan for that. We got the glasses ordered, so, more will come out on that. And then I believe it's the 24th, and we're having a Western night. So, got some good activities planned.
And a singer coming.
And that's, yes, Dolores is rounding up a singer for us, so wear your cowboy boots and your cowboy hats. So I think that's, oh, I do have one more thing. I have been working on getting our menu increased from the $3 to $4 for 60 and over, and from 6 to 7 for 59 under. I've been working with NEMSCA, and we did talk about it in our November meeting. But, Lori is stating that we have to have a vote recorded, so if we could do a vote that you approve to increase.
Well, I would do that. I would motion that we increase the price of congregate meals from $3 to $4 for those over 60, and from $6 to $7 for those under 60.
I'll second.
We have a vote to increase the price of the meals by Dr. Turk. We have a second by Dolores. Any discussion? Roll call.
Lynch,
Yes.
McKinnon,
Yes.
Zappadowski,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes.
Schlicker,
Yes.
Bachhorst.
Yeah.
Turek, yes.
Carried.
That's all I have.
All right.
What date would that be effective?
Well, now that the vote's been passed, I can send the information to NEMSCA, so I'm not really sure what date it'll be effective. Till I hear back that I have to submit a letter with, the vote, and we took a survey, so I have to submit the survey. And then Lori approves or disapproves, so.
So it's just a step increase.
Correct,
Right.
Yeah.
It all falls on them, so if they approve it or not.
correct.
Right. Okay.
Can I ask Wendy a question?
Sure.
How long are we gonna let this loan just hang out there, or are we gonna pursue it? I mean, get on the ball, say, Lenny, we need this by the 13th, and if it's not here, we're suing, or whatever. How long?
We are pursuing it. We are
We
pursuing it.
are,
The attorneys are involved, you sent letters, we are pursuing them. You know, all right.
It's in the, are you saying it's in the lawyer's hands right now?
Yeah.
then, or-
correct.
Okay,
Whatever they decide to
okay,
do is up to them. That's what we pay them for, is to get to the bottom of it.
Okay,
He just loves to cost us money.
what, I didn't hear you.
Wow, just me.
I said, Mr. Lee,
Sorry, I said Mr. Avery just loves to cost the center money. So the sooner he would agree to work with us and give us the information we need, it wouldn't cost as much. We're doing what we can.
Okay. So we'll move on from executive director's report to treasurer's report. Do you have anything new, Ron?
Few numbers,
Okay,
working funds, checking and, rate. $316,621.70. New York Life. $616,502.55. Subtotal, $933,124.25. Just the loan. Kind of stands as it always has, $150,000. And I guess what's left is $140,385. And new building project, as of June 29, 2024, checking, again, Alcona Credit Union, $386,814.20. Money market, Alcona, or Alcona Credit Union, $101,505.51. In New York Life account, $4,013,302.49 for the subtotal of $4,501. So $622.20. Then new building received, $6,250,000. Total amount spent as of 3/14/24. $3,510,000. And $159.43. That's all that.
okay. We need a motion to accept the treasurer's report subject to audit.
I'll make the motion to accept the treasurer report subject to audit.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Lynch,
Yes.
McKinnon,
Yes.
Steppenowski,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes.
Schlicker,
Yes,
Bachhorst,
Yes.
Turek, yes.
Okay. Move to secretary's report. Oh, sure.
On the Nemeth activity, from 20 to 23, we lost $166,000. This 23, where we lost $83,000.
Yeah, and you know, I might not have moved that on your packet. I moved that to talk about that when I talk about the finance
Oh.
committee. So I will talk about all that when, in the committee
Okay.
report. But I have no secretary's report.
You have none?
No.
Okay. Committee reports. Yep. Well, yeah, you were on the committee.
You want me to read all
with the building.
So we have, the new building project committee board, and the members are Phil Potter, Pam McKinnon, Merriman Brockhorst, and Mike Zepnowski, and Wendy Bain. Things that were discussed, well, actually, the objectives is to begin the process for determining renter qualifications and begin the process for drafting a renter's contract. In summary, the things that we discussed were, including the unit should be self-funding. Monthly rental price required would be, between $1,000 and $1,100 a month. First and last month's rent deposit required. Utilities are a responsibility of the renter. No pets, unfurnished, possibly a caretaker needed for the units. That might be something that we have to address with some people. I believe that's why it was chosen to be a 2-bedroom units. Taxes are in escrow. It's the renter's responsibility. Direct care workers report to executive director on condition of the premises. Trash pickup, lawn care, and snow removal are included in monthly rent. Possibility for meals per week included from the center. Income verification, removal of renter verbiage, address check and credit check, all required. Reference required and will be confirmed by executive director. I'd like to say at this moment that none of this is written in stone, and as far as we said is executive director, but it might be the property manager, just for clarification. Pre and post occupancy photo record and checklist. Renter's insurance required and proof must be provided. Renter's responsibility to purchase. No subleases, 2-month notice to break lease, document all encounters, 2-vehicle limit, possible creation of a storage area, possible transportation to senior center, all other laws apply, and, that's just like where we started. Mike and I had a short meeting after, and he brought some more information to the table. So in our next meeting, that we will definitely talk about that later. Add to it as necessary, take away what might not apply. That's it.
Okay,
I have a couple of questions on some of the requirements. These are just, Phil said, these are just suggestions.
At this point, yes.
that's all they are.
Because, the monthly rent, there's a lot of people that don't even get $1,000 a month.
That's correct, but they're not gonna be the ones that are eligible for the housing. There's 8 units, there's gonna be hundreds of people.
So we're not even gonna consider the low-income senior citizen?
Well, we can't discriminate against anybody. So that's something that we all have to get together and we have to vote on.
That is based off of, other rents in the property. This was always, even from the very, very beginning, standards is affordable, not low income. If you go back in there into years prior to when this grant was first mentioned, and even $1,100 at that time was thrown out. But if you compare to areas like Alpena and Oscoda and average rents in our area, that's the going rate, and we can't lose money. We're not here to rip people off, and we wanna help people, but not everybody's gonna be able to live in these homes. There's only 8.
And I talked to one lady in Alpena, for a 1-bedroom apartment is
$1,250, and it's a senior apartment for 1 bedroom. You got 2 bedrooms, car, you got a single car garage, you got the Commission on Aging right next to you, the same center. But there's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration. And yes, we're not Alpena, and we don't have the jobs that Oscoda has. We don't have the jobs that Traverse City have, but that's all something that we have to get together and narrow that number down to make it.
Also, we are a retirement community. There are a lot of people that have money that can afford this, but yet they can't necessarily maintain the homes that they're living in. So, they should have the opportunity to live in something like this also. We can't just say you must be a low income senior. It's just for seniors.
I mentioned to one lady, she has a 4 bedroom farmhouse and she has an acreage. So she rents this for, let's just say, 800. She rents a home that she owns out for 1,600 or 1,200. Is that fair to us? She can, if she wanted to, she could sell and move into one of these homes, it's kind of a wash, situation. So these are all just prices that, that we started out with, and nothing's written in stone. So once we narrow it down, then it'll get tighter and tighter, so.
And keep in mind all the services provided as well.
Correct. Yeah, you got your garbage, you've got your taxes, you've got your, right, mowing lawn, your winter snowplow removal, everything's included, so.
Another thing
Exterior
that,
maintenance.
Yeah.
that, I talked to my daughter in Lansing about, is the grandma lives in the house, and I talked to you, Bill, and I think Dr. Turek, the grandma lives in the house and she gets sick and the granddaughter moves in. And we have it stipulated that they can only stay for 21 days, we'll say. So then the granddaughter stays for that 21 days and she moves out for 4 days and she moves back in for another 21 days. There should be something in the contract to prevent that from happening. Or she'll move in with 2 or 3 little kids and then the boyfriend moves in, and so it's all something that should be in the lease. And our lawyer, his partner is what was that called? Anyway, he specializes in the leases, renters. I forget the name of that.
Agreement,
Yeah,
in the agreement with the
with
landlord.
the landlord and the tenant, yeah. And that the partner of our lawyer specializes in that.
We also may have,
But-
and we almost have a worker that does that too.
So, but it is something that you really should think about.
Pam, I have a question about, what do you mean by removal of renter verbiage? That's under, L,
Having language in there on how to remove a renter if they're not paying.
how?
Yeah, so you could read that a different
Okay,
way
Yes,
than what that's.
the words we need to be able to remove a renter.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Carolyn?
I think this is a great list, Pam, and the committee. 2 things that caught my eye. On O, it doesn't indicate the amount of or the minimum of the insurance necessary. And on Q, I'm breaking the lease. I'm wondering if there's an illness and possibly an ensuing death. 2 months might be a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe it's not really. But
Without medical
Well,
emergency,
Definitely, just wash that away.
but it's a great beginning. You did good.
Well, it'd be the continuation of that current month that they paid for, plus the security deposit, so.
And as far as the renter's insurance, that's for their contents and stuff, because we're gonna have insurance on the property. So it's just basically cover theirs. So I don't know that we can tell them how much that they have to have for their own belongings. But we can put it in there to kind of like make them aware of the fact that your personal belongings, whatever you think that might be, is the,
We could recommend that they have their own insurance, but I don't know if we can require it.
I believe we can. But we'll check into it. I mean, all this has to be legally
That's a
law
good
and
lawyer,
order. We can't.
that's a good lawyer
But if it's
question.
in our, if it's in the way we want it set up, it should be by law. I mean, if you don't wanna carry insurance, then I guess that's your fault, but it's your, you know, if you have a fire, everything, you lose it all. So that's what I'm saying, we can't tell them how much, and if it's just a recommendation, that's fine too. But, this is just where we can, there's a lot more information that we have found since this list was made. It's just like Carolyn said, it's a beginning. But thanks for the questions and
So we're, like I
And
said, we're in the
suggestions.
process of getting our ducks in order, and it'll start narrowing down once we check with the attorneys and we get everything going.
this was just our first meeting.
Yeah.
It's good.
Into real estate and myself and that's industrial girl business, and she said she would definitely fit in and give you some help, and
Okay,
so next meeting, maybe
sure.
want to invite her.
That's what I have, that's all I have for committee reports, when nobody else has met.
Yeah, just the finance committee.
Yeah.
Pretty self-explanatory. Wendy made a copy of the budget again. She did not request or need any changes to the budget. We went over some other things. The audit is essentially done. We had to talk to her about changing some verbiage in there, but it essentially is done, and that'll be provided to everybody, anybody who wants to see that when we get the final copy of that. I was able to take some of the numbers from the audit though, and that's the next page where we had made a graph. The finance committee had asked them to make a graph comparing year to year over the last 5-6 years. So I've highlighted some things for you. 2023 has been added. It's, yeah, keep going. One more page, Dolores. Yeah. So, 2023 compared to 2022, we got, almost $200,000 less in property taxes and millage funds. So we knew that, but I refresh everybody's memory, and no budget hadn't been adjusted to reflect that. There had been no programs suspended. There had been no staff changes. So that came upon us to have to deal with that $200,000 property tax less millage funds that we got. If you come down to the third column, where I have two numbers highlighted, and those are the grants. And what the problem with the audit, the way they did it, and I'm sure they had to do it this way, is that they had to include the $6.25 million building fund grant in all their calculations. So it throws a bunch of numbers off when you have that whole thing put into our audit. So what we asked them to do is in the third column here, the third box, they strip out all the strange things like a $6.25 million building project. And they basically just give us the numbers. How much do we get for property tax? How much do we get from grants? And these are the normal grants that we get from NEMSCA. So they strip out the oddball things. And what you see, if the highlighted there, in 2022, we got $207,000 in grants from NEMSA. In 2023, we got $247,000, almost $248,000. So that's almost a 20% increase. And so that everybody knows, that's most likely caused by the fact that Wendy and her team went back and made sure we were getting everything we had been able to get. So I have to look at that as 2022. We did not do that. That was not done. And that's why 2023, that number is up so much because Wendy and her team made sure we got all the money that was due to us. And not only that, a lot of the things that they did will show up after September. So it'll be interesting to see, which was the closing for the audit. So it'll be interesting to see, but I can say right there, that number, that proves to me that in 2022, we did not do the paperwork required to get all the grant funds that we were entitled to. If you go down to the fourth box, this is where stripping out all these numbers, other grants and building funds, this is how much we're reliant on property taxes, grants, name it. And we're 63.85% reliant for all our operating funds on property tax, millage funds, and 23% reliant upon NEMSCA grants. So here again, you add those two together, we are 86% reliant on those two things, which is, if you look at the previous statistics, that's exactly what it's been in the past. There's never been a time where we have been less than about that amount, 85% reliant on those funds to fund our operations. When you go back up to the first box though, one thing I neglected to say, when you look at the investment income in 2023 versus 2022, 2022, we lost 173,000. 2023, we made 261,000. But just to make sure everybody knows, that is in large part, well, obviously we stopped putting it in things that were going down, but that includes all the interest we made from the 6.25 million, which has been in at 5% CDs. So that number was bound to be larger. It's not going to be that large next year. Well, you know, it depends on how much, you know, Andy needs at what time. But that's why that number's so large. That's not a realistic number going forth when we don't have the ability to use all these building funds to get 5% on. So the final thing, what Wendy had brought up is that we had them show the non-emergency transport program expenses, and that's the final box where they go year to year, the net loss that program made from 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. And on the next page, that's where we blew that up. So this is once and for all to show what that non-emergency transport, it had over the course from 2020 to when it was suspended in 2023, it had a total income of 118,000 and change. The total expenses associated that were 285,000 and change. So that program lost 167,000 right about. So this should put to rest any doubt that this was not a profitable program. And I bring this up not only because we need to know this, but I'm going to bring up some things that have been put in the paper that this directly addresses. It was put in the papers that this was a profitable program. It was bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars. Both those are false. Okay, I guess in Congress they say that that was a misstatement that was inconsistent with the facts. We'll just call it a lie. We'll call that a fact. We're simple here in Alcona County. So that program lost $166,000. Anything that was put in the paper to the contrary was not true. It was also put in the paper, and I'm going to bring this up, that back in 2020 or 2019, that there was quote unquote fraud and that the ACCOA was barely making ends meet. So, I mean, those are the exact words. Well, I talked to our sheriff. There was never any fraud reported or investigated. And our 2019 audit showed we had $700,000 in savings. That's hardly not making ends meet. I'd love to hear what Susan Cray would say if she knew that they had been accused of fraud or barely making ends meet. So both those statements were false. Of course, it was also put in the paper that we had been sued. We've already addressed that. That's not true. There has not been a lawsuit. Of course, that was on the front page and then they did a retraction buried deeper in the paper, so it's not quite the same as being on the front page. So the reason I bring this up, and we had a discussion last week about, or last month, bringing, our relationship with the newspapers. And these are things, these are factual misstatements that have been in the newspaper. These aren't things that are debatable, that we can interpret something different than they did, or that we don't like that they didn't put something in. These are misstatements that were in the paper. And that concerns me, but even more than that, what concerns me is that we had a newspaper reporter here that Wendy had to ask to leave the premises because she was causing a scene and verbally abusing one of our staff members. Do I misstate the fact, or is that correct?
Well, I had called the paper at Christmas.
Can you use your mic, please? I had called the paper at Christmas when we had the carolers come in to see if we could put an article in the paper. And I was told that there probably wasn't anybody available, and I know Hope also called to talk to somebody different. I was just asked if we could take pictures and send the information in to them. And then we started our program, because just assuming nobody was coming, we started the program, the kids were in here, I think they were doing a story or something, and Megan was at the front desk, some new faces came in and she asked them who they were, if they were signed up for dinner. And then the lady told her that she didn't need to know who she was. And, then she wanted to then she stated she wasn't going to, put an article in the paper if, she couldn't have the names of the children, and we explained to her and had her talk to, Larry King, who was in charge, he's the, scoutmaster. And I guess she got upset because she couldn't put their names in the paper. No pictures, nothing was taken, and she was kind of making a fuss about it and wanted to know why we were started already. We said we were starting at such and such time, and we had started a little early because there was 80-some people here, plus a bunch of kids. And she just was making a big deal about it, so I just asked her if she could please leave.
Yep. So, I have to wonder, I go to that old saying, if with friends like this, who needs enemies? So I personally, do I think we are owed an apology? Absolutely. Do I think we'll get an apology? No, I'm not holding my breath. But I think I am all in favor of starting with a clean slate. Phil has said this numerous times. This is a new world, new board, new situation. We're wiping the slate clean. I'm willing to wipe the slate clean. I will forgive. I'll never forget. But I'm willing to wipe the slate clean. But I just wanted to make sure everybody had a final recap on these things now that we have confirmed numbers for sure of some of these things that we've checked on. So as far as I'm concerned, the matter is closed. Wendy has always had the ability to do what she thinks is best for the ACCOA, and any involvement in the paper that's of a positive nature, I'd be happy to see.
I think we should call them, invite them over for, well, maybe one of these things coming up in April. What has happened is water under the bridge. Let's forget it and start new. Just say, we invite you to come over and eat with us, and we got this going on, and come and join us. Can't hurt.
There we go. On to Hope.
I think we just tried.
Yeah. Carolyn?
Wendy and I were at an affair at Mikado on this past Saturday. And there was a reporter there from the Ascota Press. She was very interested in what you were doing. She was interested, I was there because of 211. And I do agree with Dolores that moving forward, you ignore everything that's happened, let it go by the wayside, invite them. And this is horrible, unnecessary, should be an unnecessary thing on staff, on Wendy. But maybe you would take a 3-month period and invite them to every special thing that you got going. Simple, half page, you know, the same thing that you would put out for advertising. And just a little note on it that says, hope you'll be able to attend, and just send it to them and let that be. But at the same time, I think that it behooves us to contact the Ascota Press, thank them for the fact that there was someone here from the press that did, well, see what the article, if there is one, comes out on Wednesday, and invite them also. That may end up being your best mode of sharing information with the community.
Okay, committee reports, any other? We close, if there's no other comments, we'll move on to unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
How
Okay,
about the listing or the evaluation of this property, the listing? Did we ever talk, did we have that?
no. Okay, I think I'm gonna go to, 45 North there, John Pelosi had sold the property over in there, so I'll see if that firm wants to do it too, give them a shot at it. See how much-
How about Toad?
I-
Is this something he would do?
Yeah,
Well, he's not on the MSLN,
right,
just saying, so it's only gonna be here locally if we do him, or these other ones are on the website everywhere.
state, nationwide.
Oh, well, it doesn't hurt to have it locally though.
You're gonna find a way, well, we can try, yeah, we'll ask him. No big deal, you know, we can ask. New business. Any new business? There.
I have, just a couple of comments.
Okay.
The pop-up pantry has got grants through December now. So we're good through December. And also, I would like somebody, but not me, to ask, who was our president, Leroy, to ask Leroy if we could have the prints back of this building when it was built, the blueprints. He took them home and to look at them, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he?
I don't know.
I'm sure, I think he did, to look at them and also he is still in possession of the 2 gold watches that was in the office. And I think we should get them back, and maybe the watches, we could have a drawing for our new building or something. You know, figure out what, they're not real gold, I don't assume. But anyway, there was gold watches that was taken from there, and he put them in his safe.
Well, actually, I think you just brought it up in a public meeting, so you did ask him, so you should be the one to contact him.
I should be,
Well, you just brought it up in a public meeting. You were the one that brought it up.
There you go. Your spare time.
I think our president should do it.
I didn't bring it up.
Seriously, though, I think it should be the board president. Shouldn't it or not? I don't know.
I'll give him,
That's what I'm thinking.
I'll give him a call.
I mean, it'd be nice to have those blueprints, you know. If we sell the building, somebody might want them.
All true,
You think so?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Before they buy. they'd like to look at the prints probably before they die.
No, likely they would, yes.
Any other new business? If not, we'll move to public comment. 2 minutes, name and township. Do you have any? No? Okay. Public comments closed. Director's additional comments and concerns? We have any?
I would just like to remind all of us that our phones should be on silent and we should use our microphones. It's not that hard. And it is very hard to hear sometimes, so it's really hard out there. And I know that there's not many people here. Thank you for showing up, you too. But it's still important. It's really important.
No taken.
Well, you were one of them.
All right, if no other comments or concerns, we'll close the director's additional comments and move to.
I have one comment.
Okay.
I just wanna say one thing.
I just wanna thank my staff, cause I feel like I have a wonderful staff right now. And everybody is working as a team, and we've got so much stuff coming down the hatch, and I just wanna thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, staff, for all your hard work.
I like to see that there's people coming back who left during previous years and that are coming back. That is really good to see also.
But if I may, staff doesn't come back without leadership showing the way, and that rests in Wendy's hands. She has been, I believe, phenomenal, and I don't know how you guys convinced her to do it, but I'm glad you did.
She showed up with the okay.
The whole thing.
And the congregate meal people really appreciate it when Wendy comes out and how was your dinner and how can we make this better and how was your day? And so they really do, the congregate meal people, Wendy, really appreciate you coming out and acknowledging the fact that they're there.
I have one more question. Microphone. Thank you, Wendy. This business is Thank you, Wendy, for all your hard work. Thank you. My question is, are we manning the gate again this year? Since Carolyn brought this up.
I have no idea.
Yeah, what?
I would say check with Kevin Boyett or someone fair oriented. You could also check with, Bill Thompson.
Okay.
And Fairman has for his town too.
And it's just.
I can't understand you.
But I'm pretty sure we're not gonna be buying any animals.
No.
Good point.
Okay. We'll move on. Take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Sorry. Motion seconded. All in favor?
I,
Meeting adjourned.
I don't recall. That's what came in.
Now you have